This video is to review area of two-dimensional figures for the quiz. So we want to find the area of each figure. So in number one, we know one of the sides is 20, one of the sides is 23, and this part between the dotted line and the vertex is 7. So if we bring down 23 because our opposite sides are congruent, we have a side that is 23 with part of it 7. If we subtract that, we get this is 16, and we can bring the opposite sides are congruent across. Now we have a triangle that can help us find our height. To do that, we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. 20 squared equals 16 squared plus h squared. 400 is equal to 256 plus h squared. We can subtract and get 144 equals h squared, so h is 12 when we take the square root. So we have a height of 12, we have a base of 23. The area of a parallelogram is base times height. So we have 23 times 12, which will get us an area of 176 centimeters squared. In number 2, we have a triangle, so our base, we can add the 9 and the 19 together to get 28, and we have a height of 11. So our area for a triangle is 1/2 base times height, so we have 1/2 times 28 times 11. So when we multiply that together, we get the area is equal to 154 feet squared. On number 3, this is a trapezoid. It's an isosceles trapezoid because the legs are congruent. So we're going to draw in two heights to create two right triangles and a rectangle. This helps us because we can bring the shorter base down. So out of 26, we've already used 2 of the base, so that leaves us 24, which is evenly going to be split between the two triangles for 12 and 12. This will allow us to do Pythagorean theorem to find the height. So we have 13 squared equals x squared plus 12 squared. 169 is equal to x squared plus 144. 25 equals x squared. So x is 5 for our height. So the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times our height. So we have 1/2 2 plus 26 times 5, which gives us 1/2 times 28 times 5. So that is going to give us an area of 168 meters squared. In number 4, we have a rhombus that has a perimeter of 68. So that means each side of the rhombus is congruent. So when we divide 68 by 4, we get that each side of the rhombus is going to be 17. We also know that the diagonals in a rhombus create a right angle. So we can focus on this triangle with the 8 and the 17 to do Pythagorean theorem. So we get 17 squared equals 8 squared plus x squared. 289 is equal to 64 plus x squared. 225 is equal to x squared. X is 15. Now remember that your diagonals are bisected. So we have one that's 8 and 8, and we have one that is 15 and 15. To do the area for a rhombus, it's 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So if we have a diagonal that's split into 8 and 8, that means it has a length of 16. And split into 15 and 15 has a length of 30. So we have 1/2 16 times 30, which gets us 240 meters squared for our area. In number 5, we want to find the area of a kite. So remember your shorter diagonal that's between the two different sides is bisected. We can do Pythagorean theorem twice to find the other pieces of the diagonal. So 17 squared equals 8 squared plus x squared. 289 is equal to 64 plus x squared. 225 is equal to x squared. So x is 15. Then we can also do it with the 8 and the 10 for Pythagorean theorem to find the other side. So 10 squared equals 8 squared plus y squared. 100 equals 64 plus y squared. 36 equals y squared, so y is 6. So our diagonals are 8 and 8, which is 16, and 6 and 15, which is 21. The area of a kite is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So we have 1/2 times 16 times 21. And if we multiply that out, we get 168 meters squared. Number 6, a hexagon has a perimeter of 48 yards. So if the hexagon has 48 yards as a perimeter and there are 6 sides, that means each side is going to be 8. That's important because it's going to help us find the length of the altitude, because that's going to divide into 4 and 4. Remember, in a hexagon, we have 360 divided by 6 sides, divided by 2, gets us 30 degrees at the top. So your apothem is always the S root 3 side of a special right triangle. So if S is 4, your apothem is 4 root 3. To find the area is 1/2 apothem times perimeter. So we have 1/2 times 4 root 3 times 48. When you put that in your calculator, do not put the root 3, just multiply the numbers, and the root 3 goes at the end. So we have 96 root 3 yards squared for our area. In number 7, the perimeter of a square is 36 millimeters. What is the area of the square? So in a perimeter, remember, a square has 4 congruent sides. So we can take 36 and divide by 4. So each side is going to be 9. So to get our area, we use the same formula as a parallelogram, base times height. So we have 9 times 9, which gets us 81 millimeters squared. In number 8, an isosceles triangle has a legs of 41 and what is the area of the triangle? So in an isosceles triangle, you have 2 congruent legs that are 41 and a base that's 18. When you draw in the height in your triangle, that splits the base into 2 congruent parts, 9 and 9. So we can do Pythagorean theorem to find the height. 41 squared equals x squared plus 9 squared. 1681 is equal to x squared plus 81. 1600 is equal to x squared. So x is 40. So our height is 40. So when we go to do the area, it is 1/2 base times height. So we have 1/2 of 18 times 40. So when we multiply that together, we get that our area is going to equal 360 centimeters squared. In number 9, the area of a rhombus is 70 meters squared. If the length of one diagonal is 20 meters, what's the length of the other diagonal? So our area of a rhombus is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So 70 equals 1/2 times 20 times diagonal 2. Half of 20 is 10, so 70 equals 10 times diagonal 2. When we divide, we get our second diagonal then is going to be 7 meters. In number 10, the area of a pentagon is 560 feet squared. If the apothem is 20 feet, what is the perimeter of the pentagon? So the area of a pentagon is equal to 1/2 apothem times perimeter. So we have 560 is equal to 1/2 times 20 times the perimeter. Half of 20 is 10. When we divide by 10, we get our perimeter is equal to 56 feet. Number 12, find the area of the shaded region. So in this case, we have a rectangle with 6 squares inside it. If we draw 2 diameters in it going up and down, because there's 2 diameters that make a length of 12, that means each diameter is going to be 6. So when we split that diameter of 6 in half, we get a radius of 3 and 3. So that means all circles have the same radius. So it's going to be the area of the rectangle minus the area of 6 circles. So the area of the rectangle is base times height, so 18 times 12. And that gets us 216 minus 6 times the area of the circle, which is pi r squared. So we have 6 times pi 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9. And then we have to multiply by 6. So we're going to do 216 minus 54 pi yards squared. Remember, we want to subtract the part that was not shaded. Area of the composite figure if a can of paint. How many cans of paint will George need? So here we have a rectangle and an isosceles triangle. So we're going to use the isosceles triangle to find the height. So we know that the longer side of the base of the triangle is 32, which gets split into 16 and 16. So we can do Pythagorean theorem to find the height. 20 squared equals 16 squared plus x squared. 400 equals 256 plus x squared. 144 is equal to x squared, so x is 12. So we can find the area of the triangle plus the area of the rectangle. So the area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height, so 1/2 times 32 times 12, plus the area of the rectangle, which is base times height, 32 times 20. So we get 192 plus 640, which equals 832 feet squared. But we need to figure out how many cans of paint we need for the house. So we're going to take our area and we're going to divide by how much each paint can covers, which is 150. So when we divide, we get 5.55 cans. You can't buy a portion of a can, so that would mean he would need to buy 6 cans of paint.